Okay, great. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I would like to thank you for the opportunity, for the occasion, and to actually include me in the this conference among such an august group of people. And I would like perhaps also to start by saying that I speak here in my personal capacity. So my views do not represent the Omani government nor my employer. It strictly reflects my own views and experience as I've dealt with the United Nations. When Lakshmi actually called me and she offered me this onerous experience to actually speak with you about the UN celebrating the 75th anniversary, the first thing that came to mind was my work with the human rights instruments that were established by the UN. Particularly, I worked closely with the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination against Women and its implementation in Oman, and also various reports about the Middle East to do with gender-based violence, etc. But then I also realized that in order for the UN to have been able to actually mainstream human rights instruments, it should have been actually, it should have had been accepted as a source of international legitimacy, as well as being a reflection of the world order. So I thought in my brief introduction today that I will touch upon the UN from my perspective in three brief points. My first point, the UN as a source of international legitimacy. My experience, having worked for the government, the Omani government, and being a senior policy advisor in the elected chamber, that the UN has served as a platform for consensus building at the international level, combining the collective good or ethics espoused by the concept of a world society and also the reciprocal duties of law and order espoused by the Society of States. So it's combining the concept of world states and the concept of internationalization. And I realized that Oman, since its beginning in the modern Renaissance, since 1970, has relied heavily on the UN as a source of international positioning, and relied significantly on its resolution, its instruments and bodies to a great extent. That was complemented by the Omani character that gave rise to two fundamental principles of the Omani foreign policy, and that is non-interference in internal affairs and mutual respect. And I'm very happy to say that throughout the 6,000, at least 6,000 years of history between Oman and India, and the over 50 years of diplomatic relationships between Oman and India, we did not have a single diplomatic incident. It was really, or has been, a relationship that has been built on mutual respect between two great nations that complement each other in their journey for development. Because of that, Oman found it useful to rely on the UN as a benchmark and a guidance for human rights. I could not overemphasize the role of the committees that are associated with the various UN human rights treaties in ensuring countries' compliance. Sorry, in ensuring countries' compliance and following the great principles of human rights. And what we have actually benefited a lot from is the various consultations that we have been able to acquire from the various UN bodies and their documentation, and learning from other countries' experiences, like, for example, India and the neighborhoods also here, in how we mainstream human rights, particularly the social dimension of it, with the, with the gender in our policy setting and in the law enforcement. But perhaps for me, there are two more very significant incidences where the UN has proven to be very useful. Uh, the first one, in terms of human rights, the first one is after the collapse of the Soviet Union, there was a huge vacuum. This huge vacuum was only going to be filled by the international or the global civil society network that could have also been held only by the UN and its international treaties and human rights treaties. And the other thing, the other instance where I thought that the UN has really had momentous achievement is the Universal Periodic Review. 50 years ago, nobody would have actually fathomed or believed that states would willingly actually open their doors, open their books, and talk about their human rights behavior and practices in front of everybody, allowing duty bearers and rights holders to come together and among everybody and share their experiences, hoping to reach to a very fair middle point. With that, I would like to actually say that there is still a room for the UN and its bodies, as well as countries, to enshrine human rights along the very large spectrum of universalism and relativism. With that, I would like perhaps to come to my third point, which is, in my opinion, is a very important point. And that is the United Nations must reflect the new world order. The long-awaited reforms must come to fruition now. New realities on the ground are not really reflected in the United Nations Security Council. Out of the emerging 7 economies, including China, India, Brazil, Mexico, Russia, Indonesia, and Turkey, only China and Russia are represented as permanent members at the United Nations Security Council. I think with India being a rising giant economically and the largest democracy in the world, it must be required that India be a member of the United Nations Security Council, along with Turkey, because also Turkey represents historic powerhouse that needs to be recognized, in the United Nations. So both India and Turkey, backed by history, economy, and military arsenal, I think have the right opportunity, and it's time for the United Nations to reflect this new reality. I think with that, I would like to end my intervention, thanking you for your patience and for this opportunity to share my views. Thank you.